Nobody's ever escaped from Alcatraz. One person almost got there, but they, as you know the story, they found his clothing rather badly ripped up, and it was a lot of shark bites, a lot of problems.
So none of what he just said is true. The idea of a shark getting the man, and that just comes out of Trump has this fetish for sharks, you know. It's been a minute, and I'm going to explain why in a life update coming in just a bit, but I'm going to do some of these medium length talks, try to do a couple, 3 a week. Now that my first semester of school's over, and I'll tell you more about that in just a bit. But I'm going to start this week with a video about church hurt. A lot of you have gone through church hurt and deconstruction, and here's a person named Brian Taylor. I don't really know exactly who this person is, but he wants to tell us that church hurt is not a thing. And then let's talk about it on the other side.
I actually don't know if I believe church hurt exists. And here's why. If you were driving on the tollway and you got rear-ended, or you rear-ended somebody, you would not walk away likely from that experience going, man, I've got some serious road hurt, or man, I've got some serious car hurt happening. You would recognize that, yeah, it might have been a car that hit you, but the car wasn't responsible. The road likely wasn't responsible. What you experience is you experience the poor stewardship of the person who put their hands on the wheel in that situation.
You know, it's so common for people who are still in the American Christian church to try to say, if you're hurt by the church and you left the church, that's a you problem. Victim blaming is a very common thing in American culture. But let me tell you where this man's analogy breaks down. He's talking about having a fender bender on a freeway and then saying, I'm never going to get on the freeway again. But that's a very poor analogy in comparison to church hurt. If I wanted to try to make his analogy work with what church hurt really is, it would be more like if I had somebody who I found inspirational in my life, and they would say, you know, every day you need to drive down this particular freeway because it's going to change your life. And so I go driving down that freeway and I get rear-ended by a car. And then all of a sudden this person comes, you know, the same person who told me to go down the freeway comes running up, and they're like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm here. I love you. You mean so much to me. And, oh, I'll fix your car for you. And I'll only charge you, you know, a certain rate, you know, because you're my friend. And so you're like, oh, okay, well, that's awfully kind. And so you get your car fixed, and then you're going down the freeway again because you're so committed to this experience of being on this freeway. And the next time you drive down it, you get rear-ended again. And again, that person comes up and they're like, we're going to fix this for you. And, you know, these things happen on the freeway, and, you know, you're sacrificing for the community and for some divine being out there somewhere. And so, you know, give me the money and I'll fix it again. And this happens again and again. You keep getting rear-ended on this freeway, and the same person keeps showing up, and you pay them to fix your car over and over again. And then all of a sudden you find out they're the ones rear-ending your car. And that driving down that freeway doesn't do shit for you. They just want you to go down it because they've worked this scam to rear-end your car and have you pay to get it fixed. And then there's some person they told you was a god in the sky that's actually just the head con man who's taking part of the money when you pay to get your car fixed. That is a more akin analogy to what church hurt is for people. And all the time I have really patronizing, smug Christians say, oh, you're hurt. And I say, yeah, I was hurt by the church. And so was Jesus. So do you discount Jesus' voice like you're trying to invalidate mine right now? No, it's not just a little fender bender on the freeway. It's an ongoing fender bender. And you keep saying, wow, this is not good. And somebody you trust keeps saying, no, this is how it is. And you're sacrificing for this wonderful being. And it turns out both the person telling you that and the wonderful being are not good. And they've been taking you the whole time. And then when that happens, you start to say, well, if this person was being a hypocrite, being intellectually dishonest with me, mistreating me while saying they loved me and doing it because of this book, maybe this book isn't exactly true. And then you start really digging into the theology of American Christianity. And well, it unravels pretty quickly once you start doing that. So don't let any patronizing Christian invalidate your voice, victim blame you by saying, oh, this is just your hurt and you're letting hurt from other humans because we're all sinners. That's the get out of jail free card for every Christian. We're all sinners. No, you're just a shitty person and you did some shitty things and you need to own it and not do the we're all sinners. We all do these things. No, this is terrible what you've done. Own it and allow there to be room for the truth that I was injured. And now it made me really start to reevaluate giving myself over to this religious system and its theology. And I've started to look under the hood and I've found it wanting. All right, let me give a little bit of a life update.
A lot of demands on your money these days. Trump tariffs, the damn egg prices, and wait, is that another Amazon order on my bank statement? But we ask you to consider, is it worth supporting Paul and Ashley and Evangelicalish as they talk about the spiritual journey of those of us in a post-evangelical 21st century spiritual world? Support can be for as little as $5.99 per month. Think about it. Where else do you get a brilliant and beautiful former mayor and an ex-pastor on an exciting gender journey? On Evangelicalish, nothing is off limits, and love leads the way. At times, our truth can get messy, but we're not afraid of the mess, because that's where the healing begins. That's why we're living and loving through trauma, deconstruction, and mental health challenges, and you're invited. Support the pod for just $5.99 per month. Your subscription helps cover the cost of keeping honest conversations going, and it shows us our work is not just a voice in the wind. Visit evangelicalish.com to subscribe, and let's keep this messy love journey going.
I started a master's program in marriage and family therapy. So during COVID, I was doing my video influencer stuff. I was doing life coaching, and it was all just really going amazing. And after COVID was over, I had several businesses I was working with, and it seemed like all of it just stopped. I know for certain all the platforms, except for Facebook, stopped allowing my videos to get out on social media. And then right around inauguration time, Mark Zuckerberg went down to Mar-a-Lago, kissed the ring, and I kid you not, I am not making this up. In a day, my views disappeared and my feed switched to right-wing nutballs, just like happened on X when Elon took over. But I say all that to say my life coaching clientele dried up and a whole lot of different things happened. So I had to do a lot of life evaluation. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm kind of tired of trying to build this thing, pushing these rocks uphill. And so I decided to go back to school at the age of 59 and get my master's in marriage and family therapy. And my therapist was telling me, you are a therapist, you're just not certified, and we need to get you certified. But the first semester is the worst. You take your full boat of classes I'm also, I work as a professor at a community college as well. So all of that was happening at the same time, and I've been missing you guys. My life journey is continuing. As many of you know, I am discovering myself as a non-gendered DID multiple with dissociative identity disorder multiple, and have really been exploring what that means, to find out there are these compartmentalized parts inside my emotional system who have unlocked secrets of childhood trauma that I never knew. And the secret, most of all, that there was a person born that was inside a very smaller version of this body, and many parts of that person had to be put away and hidden to survive in the American religious socio household that I was raised in. And a lot of trauma went along with that. And so I had to be the all-American boy, student council, person, big with the girls, and played sports, and, don't run like a girl, don't throw like a girl, and for God's sakes, don't cry like a girl. That's foisted on bio males. And my whole life, I had a feeling that my life was a TV show and I was watching it from the outside in. And I thought maybe to some extent everybody did that, but I think more so I thought I'm just this weird little creature that probably has demons, because I went to a church that talked about demonic possession all the time. And so I thought there was something wrong with me. And it took till about 4 years ago for me to learn, no, I actually have a neurodivergent condition that I don't call a disorder. In America, we have to call it a disorder because that's the way our really crummy healthcare system works. And so to get help, you have to call it a disorder. I think my system is amazing in how it worked to save my life. I love it. But and I have people saying, like, why don't you just stuff it away and, be okay with it? And I'm like, no, I want that person that was born, that had their life stolen by childhood trauma caused by American socialization, which is so heavily religiously influenced. And then we had the evangelicalism put on top of it. I want to get those parts back, and that feeling of being a whole person back. And so that's really my journey now. And I'll be talking some more about that as I go here in these upcoming things, and what spirituality looks like for me today, to be able to connect to something outside myself that I call divine and spiritual, but to do it without shame, because everything about Christianity brings shame. We're all sinners, all have sinned. You're a terrible being. You're an original sinner. But to be able to access divine love and wisdom without shame is an amazing thing. And that, I also was planning to have a little Zoom gathering, and I messed up the link, and I just thought, you know what? Maybe I'm just not supposed to have it. Let's reschedule it. So stay tuned for that. All right. I want to finish up with some humor about Trump. And I'm almost hesitant to laugh at Trump because he is an evil man and his administration is doing evil things. So please don't forget, as we laugh at this clownish old man, that he's putting the lives of trans people at risk every single day. He is putting the lives of brown people at risk every day. That he has stopped immigrants from coming in of any, he says, no more immigrants, America first, we're stopping everybody. Oh, I've got the chance for some white people to come in from South Africa. Well, come on in, everybody. And so this is a terrible, horrible person. But I think we have to laugh at some points because it gets so hard. So Donald Trump wanting to bring Alcatraz back as a prison makes me laugh so much, because I do live in California, I go to San Francisco often. For you who are heavily influenced by right-wing propaganda, San Francisco is an amazing city. It's my favorite place on earth. And I've been to Alcatraz, and Trump apparently watched the movie Escape from Alcatraz and decided we need to reopen Alcatraz. What an amazing prison. So I want to show you Trump being asked about why he wants to open Alcatraz, tell you some of the real truths about Alcatraz, and just laugh at what a childish guy this is. And let me, before I hit the video, let me tell you, my family, my kids, my nephews, we all went to San Francisco and toured Alcatraz. And, you know, the kids are like, this is so cool. Why don't we open the prison again and put bad people in here? It's so amazing. And you have to explain to them, like, there are real logistical problems, and the weather really beats down the types of walls that you have in a prison. And so, you know, there's a whole bunch of reasons, and I can tell you more about that in a second. But you have to explain to them because they're children and they just see how cool it is and they think we should open it back up. But since we have a child as president of the United States and nobody is willing or brave enough to explain anything to him, we now have a president that wants to open up Alcatraz as a prison, like a 6-year-old child does when they do the tour. So this is Trump being asked about Alcatraz.
Use it. How did you come up with the idea?
Well, I guess I was supposed to be a movie maker. We started with the movie making, and we'll end. I mean, it represents something very strong, very powerful in terms of law and order. Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate, right? Alcatraz, Sing Sing and Alcatraz, the movies. But it's right.
So I did some investigation. Alcatraz is not even close to the most secure prison in the country. We have a prison called ADX Florence in Colorado, where the prisoners are kept in isolation 23 hours a day. The walls are reinforced so the prisoners can't communicate with one another. We have Leavenworth. Alcatraz can't even come close to being as secure as the top 10 prisons we have in the country. You would have to tear Alcatraz down and completely rebuild it. And even then, it probably would not be as secure as these prisons, and certainly it wouldn't be cost effective. It's only the dreams of a childish little man.
Right now, a museum, believe it or not. A lot of people go there. It housed the most violent criminals in the world, and nobody ever escaped. One person almost got there, but they, as you know the story, they found his clothing rather badly ripped up. And it was a lot of shark bites, a lot of problems. Nobody's ever escaped from Alcatraz. And
okay, so I've read the book Escape from Alcatraz. I've watched the movie. I've taken the tour of Alcatraz. None of what he just said is true. Actually, 3 men escaped, as you know, was the basis of the story of the movie and the book. They were never seen again. And so there is some thought that they probably drowned in the bay. Now, the idea of a shark getting the man and they found his clothes torn up with shark bites is total bullshit. That just comes out of Trump has this fetish for sharks, you know. The truth is there's only been one shark attack ever in San Francisco Bay. There generally aren't the types of sharks in San Francisco Bay that attack human beings. Why? Because it's a very shallow bay. If you've ever been to San Francisco, you know that, like, once you come inside that Golden Gate Bridge, the bay is very rough. And so they say the water is like, it's too disturbed. And so therefore it's tough for the sharks to see. So almost never will a great white come in there because the great whites are pretty big. The water's too shallow. It's not good for hunting seals. And so the idea of a great white killing somebody at the prison is prevalent because they told the men in the prison, you'll be killed by a shark if you try to escape. They just told them a bullshit lie to make them afraid of trying to escape. That story that Donald Trump just told is total bullshit. These 3 men did escape. They were never found. There have been 2 men who showed up somewhere in South America and said they were the 2 brothers of the 3 that escaped. Chances are good they drown and were never seen again. And yes, some animals may have eaten up their bodies, but there was no shark attack. Again, that's just from Donald Trump's little internal fetish for sharks. He's always talking about sharks and Silence of the Lambs guy. It's just really, really weird that this is the president of the United States, I'll tell you.
Just represented something strong having to do with law and order. We need law and order in this country. And so we're going to look at it.
Did you ever notice that Donald Trump is always saying, we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it. And then things will just disappear and we never hear of it again.
Some of the people up here are going to be working very hard on that. And
all right, I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit here as he finishes up with an explanation of what Alcatraz represents. And you tell me if you know what the bleep he's talking about.
Amazing. But it sort of represents something that's both horrible and beautiful and strong and miserable, weak. It's got a lot of qualities that are interesting.
Miserable and weak. And look, and when Trump does this, you always love to look at the people behind. I'm sorry, I don't know who the woman is there, but that's Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, who is there at this press conference to talk about, moving the Washington Commanders back into DC when now they're outside. I think they're in Virginia right now, maybe, or something, but they're going to move back into DC. And just, Roger Goodell's there trying to go, what the fuck is this guy talking about Alcatraz? It's just fun to watch the people behind Trump go like, what in the hell is this guy talking about? Reopening Alcatraz is one of the dumbest ideas ever. Now, if we could say, yeah, Trump, reopen Alcatraz and forget everything else you're doing, like forget tariffs, forget, ripping up the Constitution because you hate people with brown skin, you just go to work on Alcatraz, then I would be all for it. I would say, yes, let's give him a little Lego set to play with there on that little Alcatraz island. And, there's not much harm he could do then at that point and let him go. But to think of it as a real idea, to put real prisoners in there because it symbolizes something beautiful and wonderful and miserable and strong and weak and whatever the fuck he said. I mean, so Alcatraz is deteriorating badly because the weather on the bay is really rough weather. It's always very cold, very, very windy, very wet. And so cinder block does degrade in such weather. So they were constantly having to refurbish it and re-up it to make it work. And but this is the other big thing that just makes it logistically impossible to do. One, San Francisco is a very expensive place to live. And so having prison guards there and all the things you need to run a prison is very expensive. You've got to pay people a livable wage, even though we don't do that a lot in America. It costs a lot to staff a prison there. Everything has to be ferried out to the prison. You can't run water out there. You have to take all the food out there. That it was something like 100,000 gallons of water a day had to be ferried out to Alcatraz. And again, if you've never been to San Francisco, you may not know that there are many days where it is foggy all day long. And so the ferry ride becomes very, very dangerous. And so logistically would make absolutely no sense to open Alcatraz back up as a prison. It symbolizes nothing except the stupid dreams of the President of the United States. And we have prisons that are much more secure and much more logistically smart to run already. All right, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm going to try to do these a little bit more often, and share it with your friends. And if you can, go to evangelicalish.com, support us financially. So this summer and beyond, even as I'm working on my master's, I can continue to pay the cost for this, and we just continue to build this community together. Love you all. Remember, we are going to have a Zoom gathering, but not this week. We'll work on doing that sometime in the near future. Bye, y'all.